Coco Palizzo's Poetry Moment, featuring Beijing Spring by Marilyn Chin. I'm Sarah Luckadoo. On a warm June day in 1989, a young man in a white t-shirt stands in front of the line of Chinese army tanks. When they steer towards the crowd in Tiananmen Square, he places himself in the path of the treads. He climbs onto the tank and talks into the cavity. He jumps down and blocks the tanks again. The day before, Chinese army soldiers in tanks and with assault rifles fired on the protesters, with anywhere from several hundred to several thousand of the people in the square being killed. But the young man stands before the tank casually, still holding his shopping bags. Two men in blue pull him away, and Tank Man, as the anonymous youth was nicknamed, has never been heard from again. Marilyn Chin, this year's recipient of the $100,000 Ruth Lilly Poetry Prize, given by the Poetry Foundation, wrote a love poem addressed to that anonymous young man, Beijing Spring. Chin writes in her poem, "I believe in the passions of youth. I believe in the eternal spring. Students and young activists were the main movers behind the push for democracy. Young people are putting themselves at the forefront of many of the world's movements. In recent years, young protesters have marched and protested for democracy in countries such as Bangkok, the Philippines, Bosnia, Hong Kong, Iraq, Peru, and Tunisia. In America, this past year, young people worked polls, designed protest signs, registered to vote, and protested racial injustice. That's the spirit Chin was channeling in Beijing Spring. This kind of activism isn't a new thing. Youth protested child labor laws in the 1900s and school segregation in the 1960s. The movements for rights, for dreamers, for civil rights, for native rights, all have been invigorated by youth participation. Chin's poem evokes the white blossoms of a Chinese spring, but also the spirit of youth, passionate, innocent, and determined. Her poem is a loving tribute to youth who fight for their democratic rights. Young people have died for that right, including possibly that thin Chinese man who stood in front of the line of tanks. And now, Beijing Spring by Marilyn Chin.
Beijing Spring. Love, if I could give you the eternal summer sun, or China back her early ideological splendor, I would. If I could hoist the dead horses back and retrieve the wisdom charred by the pyres of Chin. If I could give mother the Hong Kong of her mulberry youth and father the answers that the ox desired, they would still be together now and not blame their sadness on the unyieldy earth. If I had separated goose from gander, the question of monogamy and breeding for life, the question of the pure yellow seed would not enter. This courtyard, this fortress, this alluvium where the dead leave their faces, each step I take erases the remnants of another. Each song I sing obfuscates the song of Chang'an. Ripples washing sand, ripples washing sand. Each poem I write conjures the dead washing women of Luoyang. Lover, on Tiananmen Square, near the Avenue of Eternal Peace, I believe in the passions of youth. I believe in eternal spring, as the white blossoms, sweet harbingers, pull a wreath around the city, as heaven spreads its blue indifference over the bloodied quay. I want to hold you against the soft silhouettes of my people. I want to place my mouth over your mouth. I want to breathe life into your life. Let me summon the paired connubial geese from the far reaches of the galaxy to soar over the red spokes of the sun's slow chariot and begin again.